Today we're going to practice naming points, lines, planes, rays, and segments. So at the beginning here we have a point. Now a point is just a location and it has an uppercase print letter. So to name a point you only need one letter. So we can refer to this as X or as point X. They both mean the same thing because we're using an uppercase print letter. The second type of figure we're going to name is a line. There are two ways to name lines. The first is with a lowercase cursive letter, which is being pointed at by the arrow. We refer to this as just L. The second way to do this is to use two uppercase print letters, R and P. We're going to write them side by side, and to show that it's a line, we put the line symbol above it. Now with a line, you can also flip them. So we still use our line symbol, and instead of RP, it becomes PR. We never combine lowercase cursive and print letters together. For example, you will never see LP with a line over it. That is not correct notation. You never write cursive and print letters together. Also, you will never see a lowercase cursive letter with the line symbol above it. That does not work because in math, the only thing you name with a lowercase cursive letter is a line. So again, this is a redundant symbol. The third type of figure is called a plane. To make a plane, you need a minimum of 3 points, which is why it takes 3 points to name it. You can use any combination of those 3 capital print letters. For example, ABC, CAB, BCA, and etc. That can go on and on and on until you've exhausted all of your different forms. The last way to name it is with an uppercase cursive letter, which is located in the corner of your plane. We just draw it as an uppercase cursive X. No symbol necessary. And again, just like with line, you cannot combine cursive letters with uppercase print. So you can never combine fonts. So that is not going to be a correct way to name a plane. The next type of figure is called a ray. Rays are different from lines because they only go in one direction. To name a ray correctly, you always start at the beginning point. And now that can be at the end, it can be up at the top, it can be down at the bottom, but you always start where the ray starts. And you can tell where a ray starts by the no arrow. So we're going to put a B here to show where it begins. The second letter denotes the direction of the ray. So it goes towards the arrow or it goes towards A. The symbol, regardless of how the picture looks, always points to the right. A helpful way to remember this is in your symbol, notice how the B is below the non-arrow. In the picture, B does not have an arrow, it has a point. Then, when you move over to the directional letter A, notice how A is near the arrow. It's where the ray is going. So that's one way to help you remember that the symbol always points to the right, and you always start with the beginning letter where the point is. Our final figure is called a segment. A segment is just a portion of a line. For example, I can extend this out so it looks like a line. Segments are the only measurable thing that we've talked about so far, and to name it, you name it using the endpoints A and P. So capital A, capital P, and the symbol for segment looks just like a miniature segment with no arrows. You can also flip this to PA. Let's go through naming some of these just as quick practice. So our first example, to classify this, because classifying and naming are two different things. So if we're going to classify this, this is a point. If we're going to name it, we're going to name it P or point P. Number 2, this is a line. Now, notice how we have 3 letters here. That means that we have more options to pick from. You can still name it with this lowercase cursive X or any combination of 2 capital print letters. For example, I can go ahead and do R to B, or P to B, as long as I'm putting the symbol above it. However, you will never see it where you combine all three. Just because all three of those are available to you doesn't mean that you use them all at the same time. It just means you have more combinations to pick from. So this is never going to be correct. 2 is the maximum number that you use to name a point. 2 and only 2, unless it's a cursive letter. Same with a plane. You still name a plane with an uppercase cursive letter, so cursive A. And since now you have 4 points to pick from, you just combine any 3 of the 4 together. So B, C, D, or B, E, D, D, E, B. Any combination of those will work. And again, you can never combine a cursive letter with print or any other form of letter. It's just cursive. So this is never going to be an option, and you're also never going to name them where they're all together. So we're never going to name that plain, let's see, let me add some room over here, B, D, C, E. Just because we have 4 letters doesn't mean you use 4 letters. This is called array because notice how it has 1 line. In order to name the array, you still start where the array starts. It starts at J and it goes this direction. Notice how it passes through 2 points. It is your choice what points you want to use. So I can name this JR with my symbol going to the right, or JK with my symbol going to the right, because regardless of where it starts, this array continues through R and K. So they can be your second letters, just like a line. Number 5, this is a segment. So again, segments start at 1 point and go to the other. So we can start with a J and end at M, or you can flip it and go MJ, as long as you put the symbol above it. Notice how these 2 figures you can name with 2 capital print letters. It's important to notice the notation above it so you're looking at the correct picture. Number 6, this is also a line. Notice the cursive letter. However, we only have 1 uppercase print letter. If there's only 1, you need a minimum of 2. Notice in number 2, we needed 2 capital print letters. If I only give you 1, that means you can't use that option, and the only way to name it is with a lowercase cursive letter. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's a possibility. You have to have the correct number of points and the correct font of points. So I'm never going to name this RL. That's a print and cursive letter. They never go together. Same idea with number 7. Now on number 7, that's a plane, and notice how this picture goes from solid to dotted. That lets you know that this picture is a 3D photo. Or I guess it's not a photo, it's a drawing. So it's a 3D drawing, and what you want to do here is you can only use the points that are located on the plane to properly name it, which means D is actually sitting below plane B. So we cannot use D in our naming. When we cross D out, notice how that only gives us 2 capital print letters. We need a minimum of 3. If I only have 2, I can't use those either because I don't have the minimum number. That means I can only name this with a capital cursive B.